Hey, Margaret.
Yeah, Anton?
You know people don't talk about enough?
What?
Wilhelm doesn't actually say it's not a crush. Welcome to People Don't Talk About Young Royals. I'm Anton. My pronouns are he, they.
And I'm Margaret. My pronouns are they, them.
And we're people here to discuss the show our friends are sick of hearing us talk about.
If that sounds like you, stick around. If your friend sent you this podcast out of a desperate attempt to get you to watch Young Royals, take this as a sign.
Go watch Young Royals, then come back to this podcast.
Anton, what are we talking about today?
Today we'll be having a plot discussion of Season 1, Episode 3, focusing on all of the relationships that are not Wilhelm and Simon.
Woohoo! In this discussion, we won't be summarizing the plot of the episode because we already did that. If you need or want a refresher, head back 4 episodes in our feed to our most recent This Week at Hilarska for a full breakdown. This episode discussion will likely be all over the place, so strap in. You have been warned.
Okay.
So upset.
I made this the cold open so I could pull off. I could put Margaret out of their misery.
I need everybody to know that I was going to do my notes. Anton had texted me and it was like, I did my notes. And I went, great, I'm going to go do mine. And then I opened our doc sheet and I saw his cold open and I pulled up our Instagram DMs, not like our PDT, but I pulled up him and I went, what did I say? I'm feeling bamboozled by your cold open right now. And they wouldn't explain it to me, which was rude.
Because I think I thought it would work best if I just revealed it on pod because it feels...
I broke out in a cold sweat. I was like, what the fuck do you mean?
Okay, so at least one of our listeners will know. Hopefully they listen to this episode.
That'd be really funny if they don't.
I mean, I did tell them I would need to bring it up soon because it does. Okay, I'll just stop talking around it.
Crush my dreams. Get to it.
This listener sent me a thing that was like, hey, have you seen this video? Which is like a Swedish language teacher reacts to Young Royals, and so and like they sent me specifically their video for episode 3 and 4, and and then I like but they're like specifically around the "it's not a crush" scene, and this is when I learned that.
Bestie, get fucking to it.
Okay. The word that Netflix translates into English as crush does not mean that because the word has no like succinct one word to one word translation into English. Actually, well, I mean, it basically means someone who you are just fooling around with,
like a friend with benefits situation.
Yeah, or like a friend with benefits situation, or just like someone who like it's like only about sex.
Oh,
essentially. And so that is because. I'm forgetting exactly what the play it is, but like the way that the person explained it is like the setup before that is like Eric, like the way everything Wilhelm is saying before that is being like, oh, it's like not that serious, and it's like oh, it's nothing. It's like and she's like, and basically he's like, and he's like, oh, so it's like just like a fuck buddy situation essentially. And he's like, fuck you, no, it's not. And so it's basically he is defending like the more like gentleness and emotional connection of it than anything else.
That's so sweet.
And doesn't this scene make more sense now? Yeah.
You were leading me on.
I
That's
was.
so disrespectful. Fuck you.
And I wrote still the feelings in my notes because we're starting talking about Wilhelm and Eric, if that wasn't obvious. Because the scene hits slightly differently now, but it hits in a way that make me I feel like it put Eric into slightly greater clarity for me when I realized that. And I don't know how, because it felt weird for him to necessarily jump to crush, whatever. And I don't know if it was just like some part of me could tell there was like some disconnect between what the English subtitles were telling me and how it was being acted. But I understood their dynamic slightly better when I realized what that word actually means.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what
And
I mean?
also because I feel like so do you remember Pilot when he's joking with August and he has a very misogynistic sense of humor in that scene?
Yeah.
And then we were like, okay, but we know like how he interacts with Wilhelm. And if he goes straight to crush, that doesn't line up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
this
makes him blend more as a person to me.
Yeah. It isn't like necessarily this random moment of softness. Like it's still this older brother ribbing teasing. And in a way, to me, it almost makes the fact that everything remains gender neutral more powerful.
Yeah.
Because you can't even necessarily, not that I've ever seen anyone argue this, but you can't even put on him that he's infantilizing Wilhelm for any potential queerness or anything. Enjoy it now before everyone has an opinion on it is just I'm forgetting the order of events that okay, this is specifically why I brought my iPad. Because I want to check out what the order of events are, because I think that because he basically kind of that actually comes near the end of the conversation. I just realized is because he says you're gonna have a when everyone has opinions on it, enjoy it now. And then he ends by being why are you hanging out with me when you have a crush to hang out with? And now we know crush does not mean crush in this context. So he's basically you could be hanging out with your I keep using the word I think someone in the comments of the video that one of our listeners sent me was why didn't they just translate it to hook up when that is still a one word translation? And I think it might be partially because the sentence before, because it does sound a bit more awkward, because it's why would you hang out? Why are you hanging out with me? Why are you talking to me when you have it's how do you translate that? Is I get that because I guess also I think they're just specifically defined as someone you're pursuing a sexual relationship with, someone you're trying to get with, I think is the usual intention of it. And so and then basically he's like fuck you, it's not like that. And he's and he's like, well, what is it then? And then he's like, goodbye, Eric, goodbye.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, it adds more continuity to the Eric we saw in the pilot, and makes him make more sense to me and to both of us. But it also is like it's teasing at something that I don't think we've talked about as much. I think because we maybe weren't even available where the show is talking about it this early on, but it's this this kind of question that is in the queer panic montage a little bit of like, how deep do these feelings go, and like what are they? Because I mean, it's very clear Wilhelm and Eric have never had any discussions about sexuality. And and like Eric does seem to still be approaching it in a fairly open way, but in a way that does feel more grounded. He is not necessarily handling it like this, like, precious, oh, my brother is having his first love type of thing, which, like, that almost rounded out too many of the edges we touched on in the pilot, I think. And it's like, yeah, okay, maybe in the episode where he dies at the end, like, that would like, it would, like, make sense to do that, I guess. But, like, the show doesn't do that. Like,
the show isn't softening any blows for us.
Yeah, the show is, like, more complex than even we had talked about up until this point, I think, in this scene. Of, this isn't the perfect conversation, necessarily. Before, like, it was cut off really painfully in the English, just taking the English dialogue version. But it's even more that, like, Villa's like, we're not a couple, it's not serious. Like, the last thing that Eric hears Wilhelm say about his relationship with Simon, he's just basically calling it, I mean, the thing about it is that Eric is kind of calling it what it kind of is to Simon. Not like from Simon's perspective necessarily. It's not necessarily what Simon wants it to be. We can see that in the scene with Sarah. But, like, if we think about, like, the context of what has transpired, it's like, would you like to keep me company? And, like, this, like, oh, why, like, and then Sarah being like, oh, why are you being so secretive about it? It's like, oh, it's what he wants. Like, there's been no acknowledgement really of any sort of emotional intimacy or like a romantic attraction tension to it necessarily. Like, it's largely been physical. Like, they don't talk and haven't yet talked really about feelings in that way. And so they're very cute in this episode, but I think this one little translation thing revealed, I think, a wrinkle, I think, to our discussions so far, that, like, it's the first time in a while that I've maybe that's made me wish, almost made me wish that we would go back and re-record it. We will not do that, but, like, Revolution does feel like it was missing this bit.
Yeah, but we've now talked about this scene for 15 minutes, so I feel like we've covered that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, haha. That's fair. Oh, Margaret's hacking up a lung. They're muted, but I can see it.
I'm good. Everything's fine.
You're good. Okay. All right. Yeah, I knew we would have a lot to say about that because it was basically like rethinking our entire thoughts on Eric.
Yeah, fuck. But it makes me like Wilhelm more. Does that make sense?
No, you're right. I mean, the look. I wish the listeners could see the look on your face. Like, I mean, we don't do a video aspect of this podcast because neither of us are like internet ready while we're recording this, but like it was really sweet.
Wait, was it?
Yeah, you were like look on the verge of tears. Like I was like, did I just make a Margaret cry
Just now?
No, when I first
Oh
revealed
yeah. Oh no, big time.
what the word actually meant. Also, I'm also apologies against Swedish listeners, but like I've been given encouragement, which means I will not stop. I believe the word is ragge or something like that. It's like ragge or something like that. What that actually means. All right. Okay. Wilhelm and his parents, to bring the mood down a little bit. I just want to write down. I wrote down like they're present through absence. In an episode where we see everyone else's parents, we don't see them.
Yeah.
And like we're given a reason for their absence, and like we get Christina's voiceover at the end, but like I've never really sat with that until I was putting together everything for this, and I was like, oh, and I'm like figuring out all the relationships. Like everyone has relationships with their parents in this episode. When we get to Wilhelm and his parents, it's like, oh, they're on a state visit, so they're not coming. And it's like, from a practical, pragmatic state affairs sort of way, you're like, okay, yeah, I would imagine the Queen of Sweden and her husband are busy. But do kind of wonder if August was assuming they'd show up. Did they come to Eric's parents' stays?
I think that they came to Eric's and they're just not coming to Wilhelm's. And in my notes, I said they sent him away to boarding school and then they're distancing themselves again by like not showing face.
Yeah.
Because you would think like they would come even if to save face.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't.
Yeah. No, they don't. Does it still feel like a form of punishment to you?
Yes.
Yeah. I can't escape that feeling. Like it's like as much as like I find it weird sometimes how much I'm giving them I don't think benefit of the doubt is the correct word. But like I don't want to automatically I said that word weird. Like I don't want to automatically like default to they are the worst ever and stretch myself to like the like worst possible interpretation of their parenting. But it's either intentional punishment or negligence, and I don't know what's worse.
Yeah, like neither is good. Hot take.
Yeah. You're either so busy that you don't have the time or energy to care about your kid, which sucks, or you could have found time
and you chose not
but you decided that he needed a little bit more alone time to think about what he did.
Which, like, at this point, he's presumably been there for a few weeks.
Yeah. Like, yeah, at least 3, if not like a month or so.
Mm.
Well, I think that's all we have to say about that, because they don't actually show up in this episode other than Christina, and we've really, I think, belabored the point on that ending phone call.
I don't know what you're talking about. We only spend like 10 minutes every episode talking about that phone call.
Oh gosh. All right. But Wilhelm and August.
Yeah.
Villa is done, and I love that for him.
Yeah. I wrote disdain on Wilhelm's side, and then August. I wrote this for a lot of August relationships, I realized, but it's very transactional. He wants to like be very close to Wilhelm, but if Wilhelm wasn't the prince, I don't think he'd give a shit.
Yeah, which I think it's what we thought about August before, but like it that's why I wrote, but August is still in his bullshit.
Eternally on his bullshit.
Yeah, like Villa he just wants to be left alone. And what I find interesting is that like, honestly, kind of like realistic about the breakdown of this relationship. Because like Villa, I guess it's someone who like Villa put his trust into early on in the series, because Eric said he was trustworthy, and so it's like the way that the relationship has kind of just like frayed pretty organically, I think is like really interesting, because it's like there's no one thing that August did that made Villa like turn on him or whatever. It was just this like every progressive scene we saw with the two of them together, Villa was less and less enthused about what was happening. Like, like we already knew last episode that August was bugging him, but it's like he's reached just like a true like level of irritation that it's like
Wilhelm's face during when August is just trying to get the photographer to take pictures of them just like talking. I think it's the epitome of that, just being so done.
The audacity of August to be like, I just love the complete, like, this is going back to August the Clueless from the first episode, but it's like just complete lack of self-awareness about how it sounds to be like, okay, now pretend like I said something clever.
Or you could just say something clever. Like, or you could be funny, I don't know.
But isn't that so August, though? Why would you say something actually clever when you could tell someone to pretend you did and have it achieve the same effect?
But did it? Because I'd love to see those pictures.
A little fair. Oh my god. Those are not seeing the light of day. I know it for a fact. Like,
I would love those pictures to be posted somewhere.
Although I guess the photos outside of Hilarska saw the light of day. Yeah. And he looked about equally as unenthused.
But those were like official. I can't imagine that August is going, hey, photographer, take these pictures. We're official.
Yeah. And also like an attempt to make him look candid too, when Bill is just death glaring into the camera.
So funny.
The tiniest moment for a scene we've mentioned multiple times, but just like the moment when Villa rejects August, I think is just a very good, like at the luncheon for Parents' Day, like it's like just a perfect little encapsulation of where their relationship is right now. And also the way that like Villa is like, okay, no, we know I can't be here with Simon as soon as he finds out that August is going to be staying there for the weekend. Yeah. Because like he's like, okay, I know August isn't going to leave me alone, and like it's already been fully. I think it's so established at this point to not even be spoken or even seem to be like acknowledged with the character. Just accepted. Like August is not good with Simon, and so we just don't. We avoid him finding out about any of this at all costs. So, yeah, but yeah, he is the one who drives Wilhelm and Simon off campus. Almost. Yeah. Yeah. And then. Anyways, Wilhelm and Felice.
Yeah. For this, I wrote, Wilhelm thinks broing it out, Felice thinks romance. Whoa.
I wrote oof all around.
Yeah.
Or
it's pretty
this felt a little inevitable.
Yeah.
Like this, like it's no less painful to watch
I can't
or
watch.
Experience, but like it was Chekhov's unrequited crush. It was, we established this in the pilot and we only got 6 episodes. We gotta get this going, baby. And like they picked their moment and it was right. I don't have to be happy about it.
I still can't watch it. I skip it every watch through.
Because, I mean, it's just that classic miscommunication.
And the first time you watch it, you know it's coming as soon as Felice says, do you think I'm perfect? And Wilhelm goes, yeah. You know it's coming. And you can't stop it.
Yeah. Because it's like, it wasn't it last episode that Maddie was like, tells Felice, like why don't you just go for it or something?
Yeah, like
that,
make your move and tell him what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, yeah. And it's like, I don't know. It's again pretty. I feel like I lean into the word classic a lot, but it's very just like. I think I think I lean onto that word because I'm just like a lot of the things in the show that I'm just like, yep, that would happen. Like it's just like, yep, because it's like two nominally or like assumedly like straight girls conversing about one of them's feelings about a boy, and then like the existence of non-heterosexualities never enters the picture. There's just that presumption there that leads to that, like, Wilhelm is unlabeled. I mean, it hasn't really been addressed on the show much, but like he has yet to he has yet to, and maybe will never like pick an actual label for his sexuality. But it's like, I don't know, like even if Wilhelm was straight, like that is a bit much. Like you get it happening, but it's just like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a lot. And it definitely like hurts you being like that. It seemed like pretty friendly before this, and it's like where it's like kind of episode kind of leads you on a question like where is their relationship at?
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. It sure does.
But I don't know if there's how much more we can really say about that. It just. Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Quick little moment for Wilhelm and Felice's parents. Like, I don't know. He just like casually knows them.
Yeah. He's on a first name basis with them.
Yeah. And I feel like it allows us to like another glimpse of how Wilhelm is with adults, but it's like a different level of like adults who are like close friends with his parents. Because it's like we've seen him with like teachers and with the headmistress, but like all of them are like people like generally like know him like through his brother or like are seeing him through this like other lens. But it's like Smysan and Papa feel like they're actually they're actually friends with the royal family in some capacity, or like Wilhelm has like known them for a really long time. I mean, because it's like if he and Felice went to the same preschool together, like yeah, like you make sense. But and it just honestly it just makes Smysan's behavior even weirder to me. And it's like, I know we've talked about this, but like, my God, like, just like the like kind of the way that this is like framed and seen in their head. Well, and I don't know. The thing is, I'm still really unclear about how much Papa is in on all this.
I don't think he is.
Yeah, I don't think
he is.
Like,
I think he has no idea.
This does feel like a Smysan or a Smysan original. Like the eye acting on this actress. We're just like, oh, are you still writing? It's like, oh no. It's like, no. Eric did rowing too.
Yeah. Very excitable by all things Wilhelm.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know how, I do wonder how awkward that conversation would have been if Wilhelm wasn't so distracted by the presence of Simon. Like, he handles it pretty well, but I think it's partially because he's only using like half his brain.
He's just on autopilot right now. He's like, yeah, talking to rich adults, I can do that. I don't have to think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not overthinking it because I'm distracted by the fact that Simon's right there. Felice and her parents. Yeah. I want to underscore what I wrote in This Week in Alershka, which is that like Felice does look like terrified before her parents arrive.
Yeah. I said she lies to her parents a lot because of the pressure they put on her.
Yeah. Like her mom especially, but I can't let Papa off the hook because through dialogue what we've learned about the way he pushes her academically.
Fully agree.
Because doesn't she say, yeah, my dad just like expects me to get good grades. And she says that in comparison to Sarah, but it's like, it's clear that that is like one of the many things that weighs on her. And it's like, she also tells Sarah, like, and my mom thinks I can do a high jump. And Sarah's like, you can't. She's like,
yeah.
No,
exactly.
I can't. Like,
she's like, that's the problem here, babe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, like, the next relationship we're going to talk about is Felice and Sarah, and we can kind of bounce back and forth, I think, because it's like that very much is that's very entangled here. Because Felice, I don't like being this person, but like Felice could have said more to clue Sarah into the situation more directly.
Yeah.
Like everything is implicit with her. And like, granted, they have not been friends for long, and it's like, might not realize that it like didn't register the way she wanted it to.
Yeah.
But it's like, I cannot regard her too much, because I get not wanting to be that. She's already saying a lot for being that vulnerable about her like greatest insecurities. To really have to spell it out and like say what she's doing would be an, I think, superhuman level of growth in the course of like a few weeks.
Big time.
Like, her parents are the source of all of her insecurities, and it's like, she said that in all the ways she knows how in this moment, and it just ends up not being enough to really get across to Sarah what the nature of the situation is. Because I don't think Sarah really, based on her own relationship with her mom, I don't think she really gets hiding and lying in that way. Like, there aren't those same expectations that there are on Felice, on Sarah. And like, it's hard to watch, but it's also very understandable how someone could bungle that badly. Yeah. Like, it's like, it's just something so fundamentally outside of your experience, like, anyone would have trouble with that situation.
Yeah, and they haven't known each other very long, so it's not like they really understand each other all that much. Or if they've known each other for a while, they haven't been close for very long.
Right. Like, before the show starts, Sarah and Felice have both only been there for a month.
So, like, if Sarah's been working in the stable for the whole month, like, they may have known each other in passing for, a week or two weeks. But they've only been close.
But, like, we established that dynamic in the pilot. Like, we established, like, Felice, like, was
rude.
Like, short and, like, short distance and rude to her. Like, until the party. So, it does, and, like, this Felice and Sarah are another question mark, kind of like in terms of like where their relationship stands, like out of this episode.
A lot of question marks.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of thing comes down to the fact that the episode kind of ends with such a lurch.
Yeah.
Like, nothing really gets resolved because it's the midpoint.
Mm.
And it needs you to want the other half. And so that does hurt me that, like, it all falls apart with, like, a single mistake, or, like, seemingly. Like, this friendship that does seem to be, like, genuine and, like, forming over, like, genuine, like, genuine connection, is just really, like, does feel like at jeopardy. Because of a simple miscommunication. I mean, and like, Sarah does seem to realize, like, what she did wrong, like, right after she does it. And so she clearly, like, does feel bad. So, like, we'll see what comes of that after this episode. Felice and August.
I said that August actually likes her in whatever way he's capable of liking another human that's not himself. And then Felice is like, well, I have a lot of feelings right now. I liked your cousin, but that's not happening. You're here. You keep offering.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
I capitalized every word when I just called them definition of a bad idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to know Wilhelm is not in a space for any inner monologue after this episode, after the end of this episode. But I would love to know what, if he was in that kind of space, inner monologue would be of just like seeing them interact after this episode. If they're like, just being like, wait.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. I think, as of right now, like, we just have like this singular moment of them coming together.
Yeah.
Really. And I think to an extent, and like, I do want to fully factor in our thoughts about August into this, but like, I'm gonna give him the grace and empathy that he wouldn't afford me, and say that they are, to an extent, two lost people using each other to feel like they matter.
Yeah.
Like, and like, that is what makes that scene so cringeworthy, really, is just the hurt on display there, and the ways in which it's just, like I said, definition of a bad idea. Like, you just see these unhealthy dynamics forming just in an instant, and you're just like, oh God, this feels bad.
It feels real bad. That's my professional opinion.
And with that, I think that concludes part 1.
Yeah. We keep ending this cycle in just the awfulest of places.
I would like to leave our listeners saying that I purposely designed our scripts this time to be so that we don't end next part like that.
We're gonna lose listeners in this cycle because everybody's gonna be like, I don't want to listen to this. It keeps ending and it's the most uncomfortable.
I mean, it's a deep dive of season 1, episode 3. If you watch the show, you know what you're getting into. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to keep up to date with when we release new episodes and other Potter-related announcements, you can check out our Instagram or our threads at People Don't Talk About. Our next episode will be the second part of Love Among Royals, so stay tuned. And with all that, all that's left to say is, let's start a revolution, baby.